the Spinners are going to bring you to everything in a lifetime. Now, I want you to look. I remember, and this is my example, but I know there's plenty more of it. When I was, I did records all my life. It was a real magical life. I grew up in Queensbridge. I was a DJ, later became a producer. I produced for Public Enemy, all that kind of shit. But when rap early on wasn't making no money. So I either did that or worked at this drugstore with this old white racist motherfucker. This nigga told me one time, yeah, you know, he had that frog voice. I seen him do the right thing. And I didn't know anything like that could ever come out of a black man. And just walked away. It wasn't even radical. It was just some shit you thought you could say. Real racist motherfucker. But we used to call this nigga Grandpa. Now, it was the worst of times. Oh, we have to work back at the drugstore. Ain't no tours. Roxanne Shante ain't got no hits and all that kind of shit. We had to work there. It was the worst of times. Now, 10 years later, in the 90s, late 90s, we used to go around that area, and we were like, yo, remember. It was like the greatest thing. But at the time, it was the worst time. So when you look back, it became the greatest thing, especially compared to when I look at the Internet. And let me put this shit out there, because Blue was telling me, people think I'm some young guy. Now, I'm 41 years old. I'm not no fucking 23 who feel I got some hot shit to say. I'm 41. There's older brothers, but shit, that's old enough. Now, with this being said, as I look back at things I thought were fucking terrible, they actually were great when you look back, which tells me when this whole Earth thing is over, we'll look back and go, yo, that shit was the greatest shit. Remember when we was eating grits? It's all good when you ain't doing that shit no more. You know what I'm saying? So it becomes all good. So you may have been suffering to the soundtrack of the Spinners in your lifetime, but it then becomes all good. You will have all of these invisible parts of that reality come in based upon the music, the soundtrack to it. You get what I'm saying? Why do you think they put soundtracks in movies? They put soundtracks in movies because they're trying to create an era or show you an era. If let's take the movie Casino or Goodfellas. When they're trying to set up a scene, they put a specific song there for a reason, because they're trying to create a spiritual mood for your ass in whatever movie. It is carefully picked to create something that resonates with a certain era, So that same type of thing, you can now use that and weaponize your music for your meditation. So the first thing you do, if you have so much chatter and you cannot focus your mind on something simple like an apple, get into your music and see where it takes you personally. What Al Green means to you does not mean the same shit to me. So you're not supposed to be looking for a great agenda in it. Again, just take it where you take it, and just all you want to do, your goal is to enjoy that moment. The moment. So if you're in the moment of goddamn love and happiness, be in that moment and all the rest of that shit, and just come out of it and don't look for nothing. All you ever did was what you're doing is trying to collect moments, those feelings on moments, and harness those feelings, and then you want to use those feelings to get into a magical state. Now, let me just sum that shit up for you. When you seen Peter Pan, and Peter Pan said to fly, think of a happy thought. Think of a happy thought. So, in your meditations, like if you could do it with an apple and think of a happy thought, you fly. You go into the astral world when you think of a happy thought. So, music, Al Green, Spinners, the Delphonics, shit, Young MC, Tone Loc, whatever the fuck it was for you. Get what I'm saying? Tony, Deborah Harry, goddamn John Travolta. Whatever it was for you, as long as you could get into that happy thought. That happy thought is what you need to harness, and that's what's going to bring you outside of your mind. Is that understood?
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Great share. Great information for everyone.
All right, let me get some of this water. Now, also, I remember being a teenager after my father couldn't do shit with us. I used to still meditate, and around this time is when, you know, I guess in his plight he was teaching me chess. So me and him was at chess at this time. So he didn't know I still meditated, you know, after, you know, everybody else just gave it up. So, like, when I meditate, nothing's fucking happening. That was my complaint. Now, this nigga said some shit. He said, I think you're and I'm like, he said, well, what do you think is supposed to happen? I'm like, yo, I want to see this, and I want to go to this, and I want to do that, and I ain't getting no more pussy, and nothing. I don't see no more titties, and you know, that was my mind back then. Nothing's happening. He's like, what? He said, you're expecting too much to happen. I'm like,
yes, yes.
You're expecting too much to happen. He said, don't expect nothing to happen. So, okay, all right. And I just, and fucking nothing happened, and there was no breakthrough. I just kept doing it. It just made me keep doing it. Now, until I started becoming conscious of it. So then I would try variations, humming, om, and what would happen would be this. And I also discussed this with my father because he was aware of it, alpha state. Remember I said in the beginning, alpha state was you are aware while you're cooking. You're not gone, you're not blanked out, your eyes are not rolling in your head, but you're somewhere else. And by the time you look, it was a half an hour already? Driving on the highway is a great example of that. So what if you're in alpha state means you then take your consciousness out of time, out of this daily time, knowing when 1 minute is 1 minute. You get what I'm saying? The most focus on that, if you sat there and looked at the clock for 1 minute, that should be a hell of a long time. But if you was on the goddamn roller coaster, you'd be like, goddamn, that shit was 5 minutes already? But if you sat there for 5 minutes and looked at the clock, you'd be like, it's a long time. So that tells you time is an illusion, and it's from a perspective. So alpha state is the state, your first meditative state that takes you outside the frequency of time. Outside the frequency of time. So, but it does not black you out. All the delta and theta are more closer to that because one of them, delta, theta, or beta, one of them, I think it's theta or delta, is you actually sleeping, where you are just not consciously here, but you are still consciously here. So in other words, somebody bang a pan, your ass gonna wake up real quick. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And there's and they call it REM sleep. Some people don't even get into that deep level of sleep. They'll be asleep, but their mind is constantly working while they're sleeping. They know they're in the bed, but they're constantly aware that they're in the bed. And then there's that sleep with.
Yeah. I said for a while I had some problems getting to REM, the REM sleep. Yes.
Well, you can go on and tell the rest. I told you, I know how to fix that and help you out with that.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Everybody's PMing me. But no, yes, just really understanding about the sleep patterns, and you really did give me some techniques so that I could begin to really sort of take those thoughts, take those things that I needed to do and get the rest that I needed to do, but also still do the spiritual work that I needed to do on the other side as well, but get to the REM sleep. Because if you don't, it really can cause you to sort of go into almost a maddening state. So it's not good to constantly have that chatter or have your mind constantly moving, because what you'll find is that you'll lay down to go to rest or to go to sleep and wake up even tired. It makes your body tireder. It makes your physical energy tireder. You don't have your chi because you're working so hard while you're asleep. And
Right, you're not able to absolutely rest your mind. And that was a big thing. In fact, that was happening to me once in my life when I started working at a record label. I worked at many record labels, but I worked at a rock record label, Roadrunner Records. Straight up, they were the Def Jam of the rock world. But my job was so fucking strenuous. See, you got to remember, when you go to sleep, what you do is you work out equations. So if you have a hard life here or a busy life here, the equations that you work out are going to be your earth equations.
Right.
You know, when they say, well, we got a problem. Well, let's sleep on it, because you work out your equations in sleep. Now, if you have an easy life here, you work out deeper spiritual equations.
Yes.
So you need to go into deeper sleep to do that. When I don't dream, I wait for niggas to give me a call. Panic, you was doing this, that, and the other thing.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? Panic, oh, my God, you did this, that, the other, when I don't dream. And so there's different levels of sleeping and resting your mind. And